Many of us think we know the stories in Matthew, chapter 8, pretty well. Jesus calms a storm, he gives a really harsh teaching, and he performs a famous exorcism. But what if these aren't just separate events? What if they're all part of a single, hidden battle, hiding in plain sight? Let's dig in and uncover the clues.
So our story kicks off with a couple of really strange encounters. First, you've got this super eager scribe who wants to follow Jesus, but Jesus hits him back with this surprisingly blunt, almost discouraging response. I mean, why would you try to turn away a potential follower by warning him about being homeless? It's a bizarre way to recruit, and it's our very first puzzle piece.
Okay, so next, Jesus and his disciples hop in a boat, and this massive storm just erupts out of nowhere. But here's the second weird thing. The disciples, and remember, a lot of these guys were professional fishermen who knew the Sea of Galilee like the back of their hand. They are absolutely terrified. They're screaming, "Save us, Lord, we are perishing." So you have to ask, what was so different about this storm that it sent a crew of seasoned sailors into a complete panic?
And the third mystery hits the moment they land. They're met by two demon-possessed men who yell out this bizarre question. Now, think about what this question implies. First, they know exactly who Jesus is. And second, they know his arrival means some kind of cosmic clock is ticking down to a final judgment. What time are they talking about? It's a really strange thing to say.
So, you've got a harsh teaching, a terrifying storm, and a cryptic question from a couple of demons. On the surface, they seem totally random, right? Just a few things that happen one after another, but they are all deeply connected, woven into a single epic event. The clues to solving this whole puzzle are right there in the text, and today, we're going to put them all together.
All right, to crack this, our first clue isn't some deep theological argument. It's actually on a map. Yeah, you heard that right. It turns out the geography of this story, where Jesus was going, is absolutely crucial to understanding what was really going on. Jesus gives the order to go over to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. Now, this wasn't just a quick boat trip across the lake. He was deliberately moving from the West Bank, which was familiar Jewish territory, to the East Bank, an area called the Decapolis, which was Gentile, non-Jewish territory. This was a deliberate move across a major cultural and, more importantly, a spiritual boundary.
And this is where the map reveals everything. That East Bank region was known by a much older name, Bashan. And in Jewish tradition, Bashan wasn't just another country, it was symbolically considered the gateway to the underworld. It was enemy territory, ruled by dark spiritual forces. So you see, Jesus isn't just taking a trip, he's launching an invasion.
So now that we know where they were going, let's look at our second clue, the journey itself. To get why these veteran fishermen were so terrified, we have to understand what the sea meant to the ancient Jewish mind, because it was way, way more than just a big body of water.
Here's a fascinating detail. The original Greek text doesn't just say a storm arose. It uses a very specific and very telling word, seismos. Does that word sound a little familiar? It absolutely should. Yeah, seismos is the word we get seismic from. It means an earthquake. It's the same word used when Jesus dies on the cross and the earth shakes, and when the angel rolls away the stone from the tomb. Matthew is telling us this wasn't just a bad squall, it was a spiritual earthquake, a cosmic upheaval. It felt like the very foundations of the world were being violently shaken.
And where was this cosmic seismos happening? On the sea, which to the ancient Jewish mind was the abyss. It was the symbol of chaos, the gateway to the realm of evil spirits. So when Jesus stands up and rebukes the storm, and get this, he uses the same language he uses to cast out demons, he's not just calming the weather, he's performing an exorcism on the very gateway to enemy territory right before his invasion begins.
Okay, so we've got the location and we've got the nature of the confrontation, but this final clue is what ties it all together, an ancient prophecy. See, Jesus' original audience would have immediately recognized a divine blueprint from the Old Testament that explained exactly what he was doing and why. First, this passage from Deuteronomy explains that way back when, God had assigned these divine beings, the sons of God, to watch over all the Gentile nations. But, as we learn in other scriptures, like Psalm 82, these beings rebelled. They led the nations into darkness and became the demonic false gods of the ancient world.
But here's the thing. There was a promise. Psalm 68 prophesied that one day God himself would launch a divine invasion to take back those fallen nations. And where would this D-Day invasion begin? on the mountain of Bashan, the exact place Jesus was heading.
So when you put all the pieces together, the picture becomes crystal clear. This wasn't just some random boat trip. Jesus was knowingly and deliberately fulfilling an ancient divine battle plan. He was kicking off the long-prophesied reclamation of the world, and he was starting it at the enemy's own front door.
Okay, we have all our clues: the map, the storm, and the prophecy. So now, let's put them all together. With this framework of a cosmic invasion, all those strange disconnected events from the beginning of our story, well, they suddenly lock into place and make perfect, chilling sense.
Those harsh demands from Jesus, that was a recruitment call for soldiers, not just a lecture for students. The terrifying storm, that was the abyss itself, the spiritual gateway, resisting this divine invasion. And the demon's question, "Have you come to torment us before the time?" That was the terrified cry of frontline enemy soldiers realizing their commander-in-chief had just landed on their shores, and the final war had begun, way ahead of schedule.
And this brings us right back to that first puzzle. Jesus' warning the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head wasn't him complaining. It was a job description. He was a king on a war campaign, and he needed followers who understood that the mission required absolute, unhesitating loyalty. No looking back, no waiting around for family business. It was a call to burn the ships and follow him straight into battle.
So it seems like a simple collection of miracles is actually a declaration of war. It reframes the entire ministry of Jesus as this cosmic campaign to reclaim all of creation. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question. If this one, familiar story holds such a deep, hidden drama, what other epic battles are just waiting for us to discover, hidden in plain sight throughout the rest of the text?